Hey guys, it's Dennis with Revog Games. I'm joined by,
Joshua Weyers, all the way in South Africa.
and this is our weekly games podcast, the Revog Games podcast. A lot of big news, especially dropping today. Big stuff with the whole Starfield Redfall delay. We actually got some news about Sony and their potential plans. Alan Wake, some Elden Ring, well, not Elden Ring, From Software, maybe adapting some manga anime into
That'd
some
be
video
amazing.
games.
I would
WW,
love that.
WWE is going into an
Making an
RPG.
RPG?
Yeah. So all that kind of good stuff. Oh, Gotham Knights has some updates as well. So
Yeah.
let's start with the big one. This is big because we actually predicted half of this. But
Yeah.
the one that really surprised me was Starfield. So we had already predicted that Redfall was going to get delayed just because the lack of basically any type of, other than that one kind of cinematic trailer that they released at the Game Awards last year. We haven't seen anything about it. At least with
Yeah.
Starfield, we had seen like, okay, here are the factions. We haven't seen gameplay, but we saw a lot more activity going on with that. And then with the showcase, the Xbox slash Bethesda showcase that's coming up in, I think, exactly a month from today. I think it's June
hmm
12th. Today's May 12th. We were like, okay, that's the time. They're going to show off some gameplay, and then we're all set for that November release date. Well, it looks like that's not happening, as Bethesda announced that Starfield and Redfall are going to be delayed to the first half of 2023. Like I said, to me, the Redfall thing is not that big a deal. We kind of figured that was going to happen anyway. It's not, even though a lot of people are looking forward to it, as am I, it's not as big a title as Starfield is. Like, Microsoft has put a lot of stock into this. But it being delayed, here's the official announcement. They said we made the decision to delay the launches of Redfall and Starfield to the first half of 2023. The teams of Arcane Austin, in parentheses Redfall, and Bethesda Game Studios, in parentheses Starfield, have incredible ambitions for their games, and we want to ensure that you receive the best, most polished versions of them. We want to thank everyone for their excitement for Redfall and Starfield. That energy is a huge part of what inspires all of us every day and drives our own excitement for what we are creating. We can't wait to share our first deep dive into the gameplay for both Redfall and Starfield soon. Thank you for your support. So what was your initial thoughts when you first heard this news?
I mean, sadness and disappointment, but at the same time, it's one of those things where, like, I think I knew in my brain that this game was going to get delayed. But in my heart, I was like, no, I have hope. It's going to come out this year, even though we have seen incredibly little of the game. And even though that they were like, it's definitely going to come out this year, here's an incredibly small amount of gameplay, and here's a deep dive into like some of the factions. And they've told us a lot of information, but everything that I've heard, even recently, like a month or two ago, they've been doing these like recent episodes and stuff talking about the development. As I was watching this game in the development, I was like, okay, it seems like they still have a lot to do. But who knows? Maybe it's a snowball effect. Maybe they get like one thing, and I don't really know the particulars of game development. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot more about the marketing side and things like that, but it's one of those issues where maybe it's a small snowball effect. Maybe they get it all done. But I think logically, I was like, there's no way in hell. Like if this game was gonna come out this year, they would have shown gameplay by now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
or more than just like a 5 second clip of like an NPC that you're gonna a friend that you're gonna have. You know what I mean? The buddy. They did show us that like this, I guess, the spaceship a little bit and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things where in the back of my heart and mind I knew this delay was coming, but I just really hoped that that wasn't the case. I'm not too bummed about Redfall, but I'm really bummed about Starfield.
Yeah.
But you know, it once again, if they need the delay, they need the delay. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna complain. I don't want to play a shitty game. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I want to play a finished, well polished game. I don't want the game to come out and have a lot of bugs, and especially with how immersive Bethesda RPGs are, I don't want something that's gonna break my immersion. You know what I mean? Like I don't mind glitches and bugs, but it's like I don't mind things that can like for instance, like Fallout, I think lends itself to that world of glitches and bugs, or even like Skyrim, loads of glitches and bugs. You know what I mean? But it's like there, it still gives the game character and doesn't pull you out of immersion. But I feel like with a game like this, where it's a lot more complicated, involving space and travel and stuff like that. If you have glitches where you're like I'm speculating here because I don't know if there are any glitches. I'm just saying it's one of those things. If the game had to come out now, where there's glitches where it's like, hey, you get in your spaceship and then you fall out in the middle of space or something. Like I wouldn't want to play the game, you know. So I do hope that the delay isn't. Well, they do say it's the first half of 2023, so it's not.
Yes.
We're assuming it's probably like a 6 month delay, give or take a little, maybe a bit longer. But you know,
Yeah.
yeah, guesstimated half a year, you know, delay.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, also disappointed as well, especially because that was the big Microsoft Game Pass title. You know, the day and day
day one,
day
well,
one
probably.
release. That was kind of like the big. We're releasing that at the end of this year. That's, you know, this is why you subscribe to Game Pass. You know, you want to get these. So yeah, I do think they probably are heeding the warning signs of several games. One being their Microsoft's own Halo Infinite, which, you know, got very positive reviews from the outset. You know, the campaign, they didn't say it was the best, but they said it was pretty good, and I played it. You know, I agree.
I love the campaign, man. I love the campaign.
And the multiplayer, from what I played, I quite enjoyed it. You know, I'm not.
Well, the mechanics are great. Yeah.
That's the thing, is I'm old school, so like the microtransactions and the cosmetics are nice to have things. For me, it's more about just playing the game, and
Exactly, yeah.
and so I'm not quite as bothered with some of the stuff. But I know that there was a lot of disappointment with that, and I know their user base has gone down. I'm sure it probably hopped up a little with season 2, but there's also some complaints about season 2. But anyways, the whole point being is they had delayed Halo Infinite by a whole year, and then when it came out, all the fundamentals were there, but I guess all the kind of extra stuff that I guess people expect was not. I mean, to be honest though, I will say the no co-op from the beginning and no Forge, that those are things that need to be in the initial release that they didn't, which is coming in August. Anyways,
I figured Forge would have been released with multiplayer. You know, that's what I figured. But you know,
the whole point is the warning signs from Halo Infinite, the warning signs from Cyberpunk 2077 being, even though that was delayed, but being released and not totally ready.
A delay during the pandemic doesn't count as a delay. Like it's one of those things where that's unfortunate. Everything that got delayed during the pandemic, the delays weren't big enough. Like nobody knew, you know what I mean, what was going to happen in the beginning of like 2019 or whatever. Nobody knew. Like they working from home, trying to get video game developers to like work from home and then also like work with each other. It was chaotic. So not the best, but I'm sure you're right. They saw the warning signs with other games, other studios, and they don't want that to happen to them. You know, especially not with something that they've been working on for this long.
Yes,
it's been a long time.
So this kind of lends me to believe there was. I don't know if you had read. There was a leak from. Well, it was a rumored leak because it was like, I think it was either on Reddit or one of those type of sites where it was either a current Bethesda developer or an ex-Bethesda developer basically spilled the beans, and they were saying the game's not ready, and they didn't see how it could be ready for November. They said that the game was massive, and they said the game was too massive. They said it was like too big. They said that the combat itself was only okay, the state that it was in. They did say like the world was fantastic. They said like there was a lot of great things about the game, but they were just saying like due to its size, it was just either they're going to release an incomplete, unpolished game in November, or they're going to have to delay. And it looks like that was true.
I see that happening a lot with every time a company tries to take on a big space game. You know what I mean? Like ever since No Man's Sky, I'll never forget the launch to that game and the disappointment I had. I was 2 years. I was excited for that game to come out. Never stopped thinking about it for like 2 years. I stood outside a game. What was it? A game? Oh my gosh, it's been so long.
GameStop.
GameStop. Wow. Yeah, I forgot the word for it. Yeah, I stood outside of GameStop for like the 9 p.m. release or whatever, queued up with like a bunch of people like in like East Hollywood. Um, Not the best place to be queuing outside of GameStop, but hey, talking to everyone, and we're all excited. We're like, we can't wait to try this and do this and all these exciting things. I played the game and it was like they had nailed the mechanics, but everything was just so desolate and empty. And I think that was Star Citizen had the same issue. Like it's a great game now. It's never actually going to come out of beta because they make way too much money from keeping it in beta. But it's like every time I see someone try to make like a big space game, they realize it's more than they can shoot. Like it's a lot. Like the reason why Outer Worlds did it so well is because it's not open world. You know what I mean? You have these big
It's
open world.
semi-open world. It's like Mass Effect,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
It's like, okay,
Exactly.
you got these big sections, but they're not all connected. Like,
And even then, like the bigger sections aren't that big when you compare it to like other open world maps. So that worked there. But I have a feeling that Starfield is going for open world, and we're talking like I'm assuming it's open universe, you know, or like there will probably be loading screens to a certain degree. Every Bethesda game has them, whether you're going into a building or outside of a building or something. But I feel like for the most part, the space travel, I'm assuming, is going to be open world, and that's a difficult thing to combat. So if the leak of what the guy said is correct, if the combat is so and okay, I can live with that if everything else is super immersive. You know what I mean? Like a good example, I think, is Guardians of the Galaxy. I think the gameplay was incredibly average, but I played the crap out of the game because I was invested in the story and the banter. I was like, I need to know what happens next. I was really immersed and invested in the story. The game, like I said, I really truly think the gameplay is so average.
well, I mean, Bethesda game, they've gotten better through the years, I'll admit. But in general, like my first, Bethesda game, or at least Bethesda this type of game, was Fallout 3, and the actual combat is like, you use the VAT system or whatever. It's fun because it's all slow motion, but it's all about upgrading your weapons and seeing all the cool bodies explode into a million pieces.
Exactly,
but it's not an FPS shooter. You know what I mean? Like you're not comparing that to.
I wish that they would use
like Halo. Like the gameplay mechanics are.
It's a first-person shooter.
Perfected,
like you have to, the shooting has to be perfected in a first-person shooter. With an RPG, you can be loose around. Like I think that the shooting in Outer Worlds was ass. I think that most of the weapons in that game were ass. Like I just went melee the whole game, you know.
Oh, did you?
I mean, yeah. Well, the game. I also did a zero violence playthrough because you could just talk your way and sneak, for the most part, or intimidate. You know what I mean? Like once you got your little robot buddy. Like guy, once you unlock him as an NPC, he just walks around. And it's like walking around with Superman behind you, and you talk shit, and no one says anything because Superman's behind you. It's fantastic. But yeah, I would I wish that they would use the VATS in this game because it would make it easier for them to do so. But at the same time, it would ruin the idea of because they're going for something that's a lot more real,
yes,
and immersive. You know what I mean? They're not going for like quirky, weird, funny. They're going for something it looks very serious. It looks very real. And I'm looking forward to that because everything I've played that's involved the space lately has been like very over the top and not very grounded. And this seems like it's a very grounded space RPG adventure kind of thing, which I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I think we both knew the delay was coming. We just had a lot of hope.
Well, I mean, I was like 90% sure Redfall was going to get delayed because I was like, you just announced it. At least we knew about Starfield before, you know? Redfall, we only found out about it last.
I don't know much about Redfall, but what I do know of it, the reason why I'm not disappointed is because by the looks of things, I have games like that I can play right now. You know, might not be specifically like that, but in order to if I feel like playing a competitive game, if I feel like playing a competitive FPS game, I'm gonna play Valorant. You know, I play Valorant consecutively. But with Starfield, it's very unique. You know, where like the closest thing to Starfield, I suppose, would be Outer Worlds, and that's that's more like it's not serious. That's more quirky, out there, you know, neurotic, I suppose, is the best term.
Yeah, I want to take a look at because those were the two big heavy hitters. Like I said, I didn't expect Redfall to be there, but I did kind of expect Starfield. Right. What are we looking at for Microsoft, Xbox? I'm talking about the whole family, right? The whole reason they bought it was so they could put these big games onto Game Pass. So you could be like, okay, that's, worth it. I still think Game Pass is worth it, but it's going to be delayed. What do they have? Because that was like their big thing. So last year we had both Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5, which to me was a great,
Forza's great.
double
People are
punch.
still playing it as well.
Yeah, great double punch. In terms of exclusive Game Pass games, day one games. Now, what are we looking at for this year? I don't think there is anything, at least AAA, right?
Nothing AAA. I was gonna say there's a few things coming out. Well, we got I'm looking at the coming soon list, and there's a couple things that I'm looking forward to, but like at least I'm on PC Game Pass right now. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can pre-install all of it right now, like Hello Neighbor 2, Two Point Campus, and the rest I don't really care about. Well, I don't know. Match Point looks like an interesting tennis game, but no, these are all very like much smaller studios, smaller games.
Yeah,
I feel I feel like Hello Neighbor 2 is technically like one of the bigger releases, and that's in December, the 5th of December.
I'm looking forward
Game
to
Pass-
Atomic
Yeah.
Heart, but what I'm saying is those aren't, that's me. I know the rest
Yeah,
of.
but I mean, is that even coming to Game Pass though?
It is. It
Do we
is.
know? Okay.
Mhm.
I was gonna say because Game Pass does this thing where they'll add games without mentioning it. Like it'll just like you'll just go to Game Pass and it'll be like, surprise, here's a
Yeah.
new game, and it'll be like either an indie game or it'll be like some really big game you just weren't like. That's how I felt with the Guardians of the Galaxy game when it got added to Game Pass. I was like, wait, that for me came out of nowhere.
It did come out of nowhere, but it was a pleasant surprise. I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to decide what to play. Like I'm basically at the last boss of Elden Ring, so once I finish
Yeah.
Elden Ring, you
Same.
and me will do the spoiler review. But then I think I will eventually do New Game Plus, but I'm gonna put down
Yeah.
Elden Ring because that's just so many hours I've put into Elden Ring.
You got to get into Horizon, man. You got to get into Horizon. For
So
sure.
so I have a few different choices. I have Horizon, the first one, the not Forbidden West, but Zero Dawn. I
Yeah,
have.
you technically have both. You technically got both choices, but you
Yes.
should start there. You should
Yeah,
start
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Then I also just picked up Bloodborne, which
Mhm.
is,
Great game.
obviously off of the whole Elden Ring from Software Souls thing, which maybe I should also delay just because it is so similar.
It
Uh,
is very similar. Yeah.
The Spider-Man game I never finished, so that's another one that I could do.
Which one? Miles Morales or Spider?
No, the original.
The original.
original.
Oh, it's good, dude. It's good fun.
Yeah.
Good little story.
Yeah.
You know.
So I'm not very far on
It's
that
also
either.
short. Like you could probably finish that in a day. Like wherever you
A
left. off.
day?
Dude, I finished that game in like a day and a half.
How many hours is that game?
It's like
Why does it
well, if you're
seem
playing all the side quests and everything, I guess it's a bit long. But the original Spider-Man, I finished it in like a day and a half. I finished it over a weekend. I know. I took my time with it.
Wow. Okay.
I borrowed it from a friend. He was like, "Hey, you can borrow it for the weekend." So I kind of had to finish it that weekend.
Okay.
But it wasn't like a chore. I enjoyed it. I
Uh-huh.
binged it the weekend and I finished it. If you're just doing story missions, yeah, you can blast through it pretty quickly, I think.
Okay. I'm probably gonna play some of the side stuff, but
Yeah.
anyways, so any last thoughts about this? I mean, it's pretty
No,
disappointing, but
yeah.
it's probably the
It's-
right choice given what we've seen in games lately, where releasing a game too early that's not finished has been very detrimental. Look at Cyberpunk 2077. Halo Infinite didn't get quite the backlash that Cyberpunk did, but there's one
Look-
more game recently that was released. I can't remember that just really needed
The extra time, the extra polish, yeah.
yeah.
I will say this. The reason I'm not disappointed is because what if this delay is the thing that makes this game great? Or like a masterpiece? Because like, okay, Elden Ring is a different story because there was a lot of people knew Elden Ring was going to be good. I don't think everyone knew it was going to be like a masterpiece, like, or like, as this culturally relevant. Like 10 years from now, people are going to be playing out. There's going to be like a 10-year edition coming out. You know, what I mean?
for
A 10-year
sure.
anniversary for sure. But the issue is like there's hype around that. Like I think of Skyrim. There was a bit of hype for Skyrim, but nobody knew we were going to be playing Skyrim for like 20 years. You know what I mean? Okay, not 20. It's been 10, but still, like we're going to be playing Skyrim for 20 years. Like maybe this delay is the thing that makes Starfield the game that comes out and makes everyone go, "Wow, holy shit, this is amazing!" And maybe this is the delay that needed to happen for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean the thing about It's funny because in the movie world, when something gets delayed, it's like red flags, warning signs. It's like, okay, they got to reshoot stuff. They got to fix this, re-edit this. But in games, if something gets delayed, there's actually a chance of it making it better because
Exactly. Yeah.
it's not really you're not. I mean, you are stuck with a lot of things in terms of infrastructure that you've already built, but you can really turn things around or polish things up that you can't really do in a movie. In a movie, it's like you already shot it, man, and little reshoots can help out here and there, but overall, it's not.
Yeah, but it's like reshoots are the worst because it's like you got to match lighting, get the right, like make sure you get the location again, got the lighting again. If you're in a different,
the actor's hairstyle is different.
Exactly, it's different. Yeah, they could be locked into a different movie or TV show at that time. You could have filmed the scene in winter and now it's summer. You know what I mean? There's so much shit that can happen with reshoots.
Yeah. So
yeah, like it's sad and disappointed, but at the same time, I'm not scared. Like I'm not worried. You know what I mean? It's not like this is like the 5th delay in a row. Like when Cyberpunk had like 3 or 4 delays, I was starting to get nervous. You know what I mean? Multiple delays is worrying when it comes to a game. 1 delay, not too bad. Even 2 delays can be forgiving, I think. But also like Bethesda is a studio that has like so their last game, their last Fallout 76 game wasn't that well received. It's pretty good to play now, like all around. It's a good game to play now. But the point is, like, I'm pretty sure Bethesda is one of those companies that's still very fondly thought of, even though their Bethesda store or like the place where you're buying items, like their Bethesda store thing, like the in-game item that you would buy, like in-game items. I hate that because it's for like Skyrim and other things too now, like the Creation Club. That's what it's called, Creation Club thing. I hate that, but it doesn't make me hate Bethesda. You know what I mean? They just had to adapt, and I did like this is one of the there's very few studios out there that like I still have a lot of hope and pride for, and Bethesda's one of them. And I think it's the same for other people,
Yeah, I think they took a big hit with Fallout 76, and they kind of don't want to repeat that mistake, I think, with Starfield.
But at the same time, they're not Blizzard. They're not active. Like think of all these studios getting flamed with sexual harassment clauses and unionization and all this stuff. And meanwhile, I haven't heard a single person come out from Bethesda and be like, Todd Howard is an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like for the most part, like, look, if no one ever comes out of a studio and says that there's anything bad happening, then chances are everything works fine there,
All right. Let's move on to the next thing, which is Gotham Knights, which is coming out this October, on October 25th. Two things. They released this Nightwing and Red Hood gameplay demo, and then secondly, they announced there will not be a PlayStation 4 or Xbox One version, which, there was rumors, not this game, but remember the Jedi Fallen Order 2, that they were not going to. So this kind of and that's coming out way later, right? That's coming out way later.
Fallen Order 2 is absolutely going to be next gen, absolutely.
Yeah. But this game is coming out the end of this year, and they're already like, nope. PC, PS5, Xbox Series X/S only.
And PC day one as well. That's nice. October 25th. So we have a release date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and what did you think of the gameplay demo?
I'm excited for it, man. Like I really am. That's all I have to really say for it. Like I watched some of the newer trailer as well, the newer footage as well. Sorry. No, it looks good, man. It looks like good fun. Like I've actually been thinking like just before they released this, it was a few days ago when they put this video out. I think the 10th. So it was like 3 days ago. It popped up on my YouTube. I checked it out, and just before that, I was thinking to myself, like, man, I kind of want to play an Arkham game. Like, and I was thinking maybe I should play start from the beginning and start with Arkham Asylum. But then I was like, you know what? I really want to play Arkham Knight, which I'm actually struggling to find on PC. I don't know if it ever did come to PC. And I was like, I kind of want to get back into Arkham Knight. That was not the best Arkham game, but I never finished it. And then this came out, and I was like, oh yeah, there's a new Arkham game coming out. I was so excited again. So I'd assume, man, October ain't that look, it's not close, but it's not super far away either,
Yeah, I've got so much on my list of games to play, so that it being October isn't. I was really looking forward to Starfield in November, but
same.
But I have more time to catch up on games. I mean,
you got a lot of games to catch up on, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is though, like co-op wise, I don't know who I would have to play this with. If you're gonna get it on PC, we could try it. I don't know
Yeah.
what the latency will be like. It depends on who hosts, whose internet is
Hmm.
better, and who hosts.
I mean, my
But
internet's pretty good,
yeah,
so
yeah. So is mine. Yeah, it looks fun, man. Like even alone, it's gonna be fun. Like I love. I haven't played. Here's the thing, because action adventure, Elden Ring doesn't fall in that line of action adventure. It's a
no.
Souls-like game. It's its own genre. It's a Souls-like game. I haven't played an action adventure that I enjoyed in a while. Actually, downloaded God of War again recently because I wanted to play it, and I haven't played it on. Like the last time I played it was 1080p. Like I'm playing it on like 2K or technically 3K, whatever quality now, and it's like the PC graphics are insane compared to the PS4 graphics. Obviously, I was playing this game and I was like, holy crap! Some of the things look so real that it looks fake. It's weird. Um, Anyways, I was playing that, but it didn't hit the itch, and I had this itch for like, yeah, like an action adventure kind of game like Arkham. You know what I mean? Like any Arkham series game.
Hmm.
So I'm looking forward to this game coming out because I've had a particular itch for a game like this that hasn't been getting scratched. You know?
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this one's being delayed. The Suicide Squad is delayed till next year, which is fine. I mean,
Yeah.
they're both similar types of games, so
Mm.
it's not like, when you play, you don't need both of them to come out in the same time. You know what I
No.
mean?
I still think I'm more excited for the Suicide Squad game.
Are you? I think I'm more excited for the Gotham Knights.
Yeah, like just from what remember from what I saw last time, it just like plot wise as well. Like I want to see the Justice League be crazy and like they showed us like the Flash being all like psychotic, and I was like, yeah, give me more of that. It's just I think the setting I enjoy more, which is funny because when the both of those games are announced, initially I was like, I am more excited for Arkham Knights than anything else. But then I think they dropped that gameplay trailer for Suicide Squad, and I was like, yeah, I want to play this. This looks like fun. And I hated the movies. I mean, the newer movie was okay, but I didn't.
I enjoyed the new.
The Peacemaker series was better than the movie, I think.
I think
Which
as
one?
well,
Yeah.
but I actually really did enjoy the new movie, the new Suicide
Yeah.
Squad. But
Well, then again, the
Peacemaker was
Peacemaker
better.
Series was just Peacemaker was just a great series. It was
Yes,
hilarious.
it's
man.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. This one's kind of a bigger thing. It's kind of three in one. It's all Sony related. So, first off, Sony is putting $300 million more into first party games, and they're aiming for multiple platforms. So I believe this 300 million is in addition to what they're already pumping, because if it was 300 million alone, it'd be like, okay, you can make like
It's like a drop in the water, man.
well, it's like you can make 4 games, or you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
3-4 games. That's not really a lot. So I think it's 300 more into growing their multiple. But the I think the bigger thing is they want to release these games on multiple platforms, which we know is not
big.
which we know is not Xbox. What it means is PC.
Yeah, PC.
Yes, which is good.
That's huge for me. Yeah, it's huge but also like they don't say this here, but I'm assuming and like we said, they have to do this. Like if they want to compete in 10 years from now, they have to have day one PC, day one PlayStation.
Yeah.
It can't be like, hey, play the game 6 months later on PC. I mean, like I said, I'd be okay with that. But at this point, it's like, hey, like currently what we know of is like you're gonna get the PC version of the PlayStation game years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's usually the case. Even like way back when it was the first thing. Like I remember when Final Fantasy 15 came out, it did take about a year and a half for the PC version to come out, because of optimization, but also upscaling, because PCs at the time could outplay a PS4 like easy,
Yeah. So that's good news.
Sony's always been very serious about their like first party single player narrative experience games. They're very gung ho about that. Thank God, because it's like it's needed, Like it in a world where most studios are obsessed with multiplayer games and microtransactions, and like it's nice to see like a big guy going, no, we're gonna keep working on single player games. And thank God, I'm just glad. And they make the best. They make the best single player games,
Yeah. So good news on that front. Like I said, day one, that should be their goal, because if you want to compete in that area. On a side note, PS5 missed their hardware sales targets by 3.3 million units, but
It's because of the shortage, though,
it's
right?
because of the component shortage, not because of lack
Yeah.
of people want it.
Chip shortage.
So it's
Yeah.
it's one of those
Is it
things.
chip shortage or graphics card related? I'm guessing chip
It
shortage.
says component shortage, so
So we don't know.
whatever.
It could be either. It could be either. Yeah.
But hopefully that alleviates. I don't like so.
Yeah.
I
It could
mentioned
be both. It could literally be both. It could be chip
I
and
mentioned to you last week that Xbox Series X, not S. S has been kind of readily available for a long time now.
Yeah.
But X lately, I've been seeing it pop up more and more frequently available. I personally, like I said,
Microsoft makes their own chips, though, don't they? Or they have like because it's Microsoft. I know that they have a closer tie-in towards PC components than Sony does. You know.
yeah, it's
They
possible.
just have.
Yeah, I don't think
Well,
it's their own
very-
chips, but I
highly
do think they
possible,
have.
yeah.
Yeah, I do
Like
think
they have time. I mean, yeah, it's Microsoft. They've been working with this hardware for far longer than Sony has. You know. So they've just got their ins when it comes to like. They just have their ins when it comes to chips. I remember like there was an article about a year or two ago where Xbox Microsoft said they were not worried about the chip shortage because it won't affect them. You know, because they've either already got all the chips that they need, or like the next like 100,000 consoles or more or whatever. Who knows? Millions. Who knows how much it is? But yeah, and Sony did not. Like that was the issue. Sony was like, yeah, no, the shortage is going to affect us because we don't have all those, bought up and like stockpiled.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is unfortunate, but it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. All right, and this is something that you had kind of speculated on, and it seems
And I
like
put a tinfoil hat on for
Yeah.
it, Dennis. I was like, this is the craziest guess
Yeah.
ever. It's never gonna happen. And then literally a few days later, it's like I need to put my tinfoil hat back on. It's like it's a normal hat now.
so.
It's not
This is
tinfoil.
not. Yeah, this is not like from some, total
Yeah, this
rando,
yeah.
crappy makeup rumors to get clickbait traffic. This is Forbes is basically having a report that Sony could acquire Square Enix for PlayStation, and this is something you mentioned when we talked about the Square Enix getting rid of
The Western studios.
the Western Studios, Crystal
And big
Dynamics,
IPs
Adius,
too.
yeah,
Huge IPs,
for cheap,
yeah.
for cheap. Sorry, if I was a billionaire, I'd be buying that. I'd be like 300 million for that.
100%,
I'd buy.
man,
it.
You could. I was gonna. Yeah, if I was Elon Musk, I'd be like, yeah, I could own Tomb Raider for 300 million. Let's do it.
Well, you own Deus Ex, which didn't he say that was like his favorite game of all time or whatever?
The original day. I think it's still like. I could be wrong, but I know for years his profile picture on Twitter was the Deus Ex cover art.
Yeah, so
Like it's his favorite game of all time.
I don't know why he didn't buy it for 300 million because that's a steal.
Well, he did just buy a lot.
Well, he's trying to buy
Twitter
Twitter.
stock. Yeah, he
Trying
did
to-
just spend a lot of money on Twitter.
Should have spent it on this. Is a better deal.
Man,
But
Jeff
anyways,
Bezos should have acquired them for Amazon Studios for that cheap, man.
yeah,
Literally,
cheap.
like Daddy Bezos, he could have Amazon like they got New World. New World is getting better, although a lot of players have fallen off of it. They just needed to fix the end game because the first half of that game was so polished, and then the second half was just not. Like the end game was not polished, but they've somewhat fixed that with some recent updates.
Yeah, so your theory about how they could be the reason that they sold them off was so that they could be sold off to Sony.
More acquirable, yeah.
Yeah, that's what the reporter rumor is saying that's the reason they're like, okay, look.
I thought I was crazy for thinking it, Dennis. I was like, I'm crazy. There's no way.
Hey, that's the same when I said that Microsoft could buy Activision Blizzard. I was like, call me crazy, and then I was like, okay, and then it happened. Look, anyone who's watching or listening to our podcast, we make sometimes crazy predictions, but some of them come true.
Investors listening to us, man. Yeah, I was gonna say we need Wall Street to start listening to us, man. I can't tell you how validated I feel when I saw this article. I felt so validated. I felt like a crazy person a week ago when I was like maybe they're selling off these huge IP for so low. Because it's their Western companies. Maybe they're selling it so that they're more acquirable by a Japanese company. Because it's easier for Sony to buy Square Enix if they're both just Japanese companies and their Western properties don't get involved. And like the fact that I was so close to being right, like I didn't hit the nail on the head, but I was so close. Like, dude, I feel so validated. But also, like, I literally thought this was like. I felt like a conspiracy theorist for thinking this. And then a few, like 3 or 4 days later, an article comes out being like, no, you're absolutely right. That's probably what happened,
Yeah.
Also huge
Uh,
because I think like, and I've said this like a year ago. I've said this multiple times. Like Square Enix would be a huge acquisition for Sony. Like
it's
it's
a
huge.
very good pairing. I mean, they've already
And
have a
yeah,
close relationship. They've already done many exclusives on
Final
Sony's
Fantasy
platform.
used to be Sony exclusive as well. It used to
Yeah,
be.
used to be. Yeah,
Uh, so they've had that partnership. You know, they're in the
yeah.
same country, dealing with the same kind of laws and stuff and taxes and whatnot. Um, it just makes sense. You know what I mean? And also Square Enix has got some great IP besides Final Fantasy. They have a lot of other great IP too. You know what I mean? Well, I suppose a lot of it was just sold off, but but they still have a lot of other good IP. You know? And then yeah, this is a little off topic, but kind of on topic. Me and my friend had this situation. We were like, me and my friend Jonathan, we spoke about what currently our dream game would be like, and we're
Hmm.
both huge Final Fantasy nerds, and we both said that it would be like this is not going to happen. Like maybe in the future, one day it could happen. But we were thinking it to ourselves, like, who could make an amazing Final Fantasy game? From Software. Is if From Software just did the game mechanics and they left the story to find the Square Enix. They're like, here's Square Enix. You guys do the story. Just work on the story and nothing else, and we'll work on the actual mechanics in the world. They could make a killer game. Because that Stranger of the Paradise game that Square Enix put out, that Final Fantasy Origins game was trash. I know some people liked it, but I feel like they were paid to like it. Because I don't know a single person who isn't or like a reviewer who said it's good. All the reviewers are saying it's good, but I feel like they're paid or they're just trying to look nice because sometimes you want to look nice, you get the embargo, they give you a review code, you want to give a good review so that you keep getting review codes. I get how it works, but it's just, I don't know, I thought the game was terrible, like
Hmm.
especially after playing Elden Ring, trying to play Final Fantasy tried to make their own Souls like game. It was trash, it was horrible. But yeah, that's in like if it ever happens, my dream team up would be a Square Enix From Software collab on something. Like that would be my dream collab.
Cool. Yeah. So it's a lot of things moving along for Sony. They still have God of War, Ragnarok coming out at the end of this
Mm-hmm.
year, and then
Supposedly, and they said that there's not going to be a delay. They're very
yeah,
adamant
yeah.
about
I
that.
wonder when their next state of play is. So with Microsoft and Bethesda, they're doing that June 12th one to basically, even though there's no E3 this year, it's to
Mm,
coincide with that E3 time period. And I'm sure a
yeah,
lot of people will follow suit. I'm wondering when Sony is going to make
I
their.
could be wrong, but it's usually around June or July that they do their own state of play.
Hmm. Yeah. So we'll see. All right. This next piece of news I'm very, very excited about, which is that Alan Wake, there's a TV show in development at
Yeah,
AMC.
I'm also excited for this. Yeah.
So I'm a big Alan Wake fan, and before the game had actually come out, they had released basically a prequel web series called Bright Falls.
Mm,
And they had released it both on the Xbox, because at that time Alan Wake was an Xbox exclusive. So they released it on the Xbox, had their own kind of like TV thing going on. They don't have it
yeah.
anymore, but they used to have their
Sony
own
did
little,
as well,
yeah.
and then they got rid of it. It was like PlayStation View, and I'm not gonna lie, they actually had some good originals on there,
Hmm.
but it wasn't enough. Like they did their own like superhero show that it was kind of like, well, it's not kind of like The Boys, but it was like the first superhero show I saw that was gritty and like not like, hey, I'm a superhero, look at me being majestic. It was more like the gritty side of being a superhero, and it was
Hmm.
a cool. I think it was called Supers. I could be wrong. I thought it was a cool series. But once again, like they never made more of it because the point of it was to make that show, get people to join PlayStation
Yeah.
View, and then keep watching it. You know what I mean? But just wasn't enough content on there, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. You need lots. You need a huge
Hmm.
library, and you need ongoing content, which is,
Exactly. Yeah.
Netflix does that, but the problem is they now have hit a big wall, because like they're spending too much money and not getting enough return in terms
Yeah.
of subscribers. So
Well, a
it's
lot of
it's
people in the
it's a
market has been saying
balance.
that for a while. I still remember when I was studying my bachelor's for film.
Hmm.
We had a guy come in who worked in the industry as like I forget what the term is. It was one of those complicated cases of like a script supervisor, but not a script supervisor. I don't know, something like that. And he explained to us in great detail on how Netflix is technically bankrupt. Like, and this was years ago. You know what I mean? And like how they're overproducing and underselling, and how eventually they're gonna hit like a bottle or something.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, that's the
so it's like
market.
people, yeah. Netflix
That,
knew as well. Like you have
yeah,
to run
yeah.
at a loss until you can make a profit.
Yeah, that's how Amazon did it.
That's just yeah. Well, I mean, Amazon also got bailed out. Bezos's parents bailed him out. Like, what was it? He started Amazon, and then 2 years later, the company was gonna go bankrupt, and then his parents bailed him out with like a couple $100,000.
Hmm. But
So
even
they did
after
have
that,
support too.
even after
Exactly.
that,
Even
it was,
after
it was
that,
still they were
had to
still
make a
losing
loss,
money.
man. Yeah, I look going back to the Alan Wake. A TV show just makes sense.
Yeah,
Like I think we said it before. Like this is one of those things where you can't screw it up. You know what I mean? It's not like there is a cartoon sidekick or something goofy that you got to try to work with. Like this is all like it's like it's gonna be eerie, creepy thriller. It's perfect for TV. It's perfect for TV.
Yeah, it's
You
made
know?
like I said that prequel web series. I think it's still on YouTube if you want to watch it. It's called Bright Falls. Very well done. I mean, they're short, like 8-minute episodes, and I think there's 4 or 5 of maybe 6 of them. But it shows you the tone of it. It actually doesn't star Alan Wake. It stars the town that he goes to, but it's like someone else who goes there. But anyways, yeah, the mood is,
yeah,
Alan
that's
Wake is
cool.
very inspired by Twin Peaks. Though I think the tone is more serious, where Twin Peaks has a very surrealistic, has a quirky
Almost
tone
Twilight
to it,
Zone-y kind of feel.
and a
Yeah.
quirky tone to it, where Alan Wake
Yeah.
is a little more serious. But still, it definitely lends itself. Like when you play the original, it's divided into episodes. It's like episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever, and so it's very episodic, cinematic in a television type of way. So the fact that AMC bought the rights for it, I think is a good match. I think it's a good match.
It is. Also, like we said, it's one of those movies where, look, it's one of those TV. Sorry, it's one of those IPs. If you're gonna do this as a TV show, it's really as long as you hire a good director, it's gonna get made properly. You know what I mean? Like, there are moments. Like I think that what was it? There was it was either a movie or a TV show. I feel like it was a Resident Evil TV show or something that I watched where it was like half the time the shots looked amazing and the other half the time the shots looked bad. And they weren't like zombie shots, they were like normal film shots that you should be nailing as a director, like normal shots.
I think you're
with the
thinking of
lighting's
the
off or
latest
something.
Resident Evil movie.
I think it was that. Yeah, I was like there was like there were parts that looked great and then there were parts that looked like a student filmed it. Like it was like a student film. You know what I mean? And it's not like, hey, like, oh, they struggle, like it's like basics that we're getting off, you know what I mean? So once again, as long as they hire a good director who doesn't mess up the basics, because this like it's the game's about lighting, you know what I mean? Like that's what it's gonna be. Like lighting will make or break the TV show, and as long as you got someone good on lights and you got a good director, I think it's gonna be difficult for them to screw it up, you know. What's also gonna make and break it is who they hire for the lead. But like you said, it's not gonna be Alan Wake, so they have freedom there.
So let's see here. Yeah, so I guess they've been trying to make this series since 2018, but it's finally happening with
the fact that they're
a legitimate network that's actually producing it. You know,
the fact that they're not using Alan Wake and they're just setting it in the village. It's also great marketing for the games because it's like, hey, we're not telling you any story from Alan Wake 1 or Alan Wake 2.
Oh, I don't
So
know.
you can
I don't
go-
know exactly
yeah.
what they're doing with the series. I was saying that the prequel was didn't have Alan Wake
Oh, the
in it.
prequel was that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in
This one-
most cases, this probably will have Alan Wake in it. They'll probably do the first game as a movie.
That's my
they'll do the
guess.
story of the first game, yeah.
To be frank, even though I'm super excited for the second game, which we know little about,
Yeah.
I don't know what the story is. It doesn't seem to be set in the same place. I don't know.
Yeah, and from what we saw in that announcement trailer for Alan Wake 2, he looks a lot more like sinister.
Yeah.
You know? He looks a little crazy, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and they also said, on a side note to this, that they don't plan on giving a trailer or demo anytime soon. They said that takes a lot of effort, and so they don't want to take away from development. So don't expect anything like at the showcase let's say Xbox showcase. They're not going to show off.
Especially
anything.
if they are working on multiplayer for Control, which I think is that a rumor or is that an announcement?
No, that's true.
That's true, yeah.
So
Yeah, so
Control's
their hands are full. Yeah.
so Control's the publisher, 505 Games, is having their first digital showcase actually next week, next
Yeah.
Tuesday, and they're going to show off some stuff. And I think one of the things that they're hoping to see is that Control multiplayer spin-off, which should be interesting.
Yeah, multiplayer spin-off already
Yeah.
in the works. Oh, it's a spin-off. It's not like an update or something. Okay. It's not like
Yeah.
a DLC. It's
I
a
think
spin-off.
it's a whole separate game, but using
Yeah.
that universe and probably the gameplay mechanics, you know.
Okay, so that, yeah, their hands are pretty full. That's why they can't. Yeah, it makes sense. So that's why they can't give us like another trailer or anything. Yeah, that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense.
They
Oh
did
yeah,
show
and they're working on that dark fantasy RPG. They're working on like I forgot that they're working on their own RPG as well.
yeah. What else was I gonna say? Oh, they also released an Alan Wake 2 concept art, but it's just
Yeah.
a very dimly lit scene where Alan Wake is on a payphone, which is like where do you find payphones in today's day and age? It's very hard to find.
Dude, you tell me, man. I was gonna say I haven't seen a payphone, even in my country where we're like still a third world country. I don't see payphones here, man. They're all gone.
Yeah. All right.
Supposedly you still get them. Supposedly you still get them in the UK, but they've
Mhm.
been like refitted instead of having phones like the phone boxes. They've repurposed into like it was the craziest thing I saw. It was a defibrillator.
Oh.
It was like an
Wow.
emergency, like tucked away defibrillator in case like paramedics needed nearby or something. Or like I thought that's a cool way to like repurpose old payphones or something. If you like get rid of most of them, but then leave some of them as like an SOS thing or something, emergencies. But yeah,
Yeah.
Control. Okay, I'm looking forward to the showcase next week. In that case, because I'm more excited to see what they're gonna talk about this RPG of theirs. We will have more news on that next week, I suppose.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. This article is about. This is interesting. So apparently, Elden Ring developer From Software, which is owned by Kadokawa Corporation, which is a huge Japanese company.
Kadokawa.
Yeah.
It's also they do anime, like which
Yeah.
makes sense. We're about to talk about Kado. Like I didn't actually know that they're owned by Kadokawa. When you said that, I was like, dude, that's like they make. Well, I mean, they don't make, but they distribute and produce some really good anime.
Yeah, and so apparently in an earnings call, they revealed a potentially having From Software work on video game adaptations of some famous anime and manga. So I don't know how to feel. I think you're much more excited about this than I am.
So stoked.
Okay, you talk about why you're excited, and I'll tell you why I'm a little apprehensive.
Here's why I'm excited. At the end of the day, it's From Software. They are not going to choose to make something that they don't have the capabilities of making. Like if Kadokawa was like, "Hey, we want you to make a super cutesy anime game, cuddly RPG," they're gonna be like, "No, if they do this, it's gonna be the more darker, adult kind of orientated games." You know what I mean? Like they're not gonna do, like, for instance, like they're not gonna do Cowboy Bebop. They wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's space related. Neogenesis Evangelion they could do. I mean, it involves mechs, but the theme and tone is dark enough for them to be able to play around with that. I don't think it'll be that. If anything, look, if there was one game that From Software could make, and I know that they want to make it, is a Berserk game.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we saw in Elden Ring, there's the Berserk sword.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like Easter eggs for Berserk, and they even said that a lot of areas in Elden Ring were inspired by Berserk. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They've taken a lot of inspiration about that. So from the people at From Software, they're a big fan of Berserk. Getting the rights to do that game is difficult because I believe the guy passed away recently, or like a couple months ago, unfortunately. But I'm sure somebody now owns the IP and they'd have to make a deal with them. But if we're talking about Kadokawa, like their IP, it's tricky. I'm excited for it, but the reason why I'm excited for it is because, like I said, I know that they're From Software is not going to like make something that they can't make. They're not going to be like, hey, let's like this is not what they're going to do. But this is a bad example. But they're not going to be like, hey, let's make an FPS game, even though we've never ever made an FPS game before. Like I just don't see them doing that. They're going to make a Souls-like game, and they're going to make it more. They're going to be I suppose they're going to be making it more along the lines of anime. But what are they saying here? They're corporation is planning to adapt some of its manga. So it could not even be an anime. It could also be a manga, which is great, into video games from Software listed as one of the game
As a
adaptation
potential,
resources. As a
potential. I guess for me, I personally think, with the way that From Software works and how they work on their own original IP, and they, have everyone working on, one big project at a time. I don't see how adapting a different property really fits into what they do. I guess that's my whole thing. Is like, I'm looking forward. Look, I know a lot of people are like, oh, there's not going to be an Elden Ring 2, but there may be a spiritual successor to Elden Ring. That's like another Souls game that's in an open world.
They're all
whatever.
technically tied together. Like Elden Ring is essentially a spiritual successor to Dark Souls. You know what I mean? Like that's the best way of looking at it. It's a spiritual successor. Dark Souls, there will be more Dark Souls games, and they're not going to be like Elden Ring. They're not going to have summons. They're not going to have a horse. It's going to be Dark Souls. You know what I mean? But still, it was the next. It's still in the next series, even though there's no tie-ins. It's still considered the next series. Kind of like, and this is. Maybe nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about, but kind of like the Cornetto trilogy. You know the Cornetto trilogy?
Yes. Like
so like those movies have nothing to do with each other.
Shaun of the Dead. Was it Hot Fuzz?
Hot Fuzz, and
End of the World.
At World's End.
At World's End. Yeah.
Yeah, which was the only thing tying those movies together is a Cornetto, an ice cream. But besides,
and the two main actors. And the two main actors.
Yeah. But I suppose that's the same with From Software, like games like Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Elden Ring. They're all the same game. And people might crucify me for saying that, but they are like within that same like realm.
Yeah, I mean the gameplay mechanics are very, very similar. You see that there's I mean it's funny because when I look at like some of the older games, because I am not a Souls player, and I look at some of the screenshots or video of the old games, I'm like, oh, that interface is exactly the same as Elden Ring. Elden Ring's just a more updated version. That's all.
And okay, so going back to this topic though, looking at their people are speculating Neogenesis Evangelion. Like, as much as I would love a game like that, I don't think that they would do that because it does involve giant mechs, and it's like they're not in giant mechs all the time. So it's like if they had to focus on making the gameplay for the mechs great, then it's like making the gameplay for walk. I don't know. It doesn't. Anyways, it just doesn't make sense to me. But something like Sword Art Online, for instance, which is literally an anime about a game, which is it's literally an anime about a virtual reality MMORPG. You know what I mean? That would make sense. An anime about a game turned into a game makes sense. There have been a lot of Sword Art Online games, and they suck. They all suck. Every single one of them sucks. I've played them, and they're all ass. So if they did like the original Sword Art Online series, that could be cool. But here's the thing. The thing to remember here is that they're saying they're only looking at them. What they're most likely going to do is they're going to use the guy that did Jump Force, alongside Spike Chunsoft. I could be saying that wrong. The guy that worked on Jump Force, and Gotcha Games, which is the people that made RPG Maker. They do more like 8-bit 2D kind of games, like super old school, almost like Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, that kind of style games. So they could also be looking into doing those types of games. Like, I don't know why else they would refer to the Gotcha Games guy. Jump Force was an amazing like third-person fighter, it's kind of like, I guess the closest thing you can relate it to is Marvel vs. Capcom, but in terms of how it plays, like you get 3 people on your team, 3 people on the other team, and you fight each other. And also it's like Capcom vs. Marvel was exactly that. Was Jump Force was just all the anime. Anything that Shonen Jump owned as an IP, it was just all characters from different animes fighting each other. Goku, Luffy, you know what I mean? Ichigo from Bleach. So that's cool. I'm optimistic about this, but like I said, the reason I'm mainly optimistic about this is because I also know for a fact that From Software isn't gonna, like, they're not gonna make Genshin Impact. They're not gonna make some like cutesy little like Legend of Zelda kind of looking like game. They're good. Like, if they are gonna choose a manga or an anime, it's gonna have to be something that fits within the realm of dark fantasy, you know. And there are a lot of animes that are in that realm, and manga that's in that realm, and I think they'll do that. But what my worry is that if Kadokawa, they're the parent corporation, if they pressure them to make a game, it's probably going to have to be something that's more fresh or like newer IP. They're either going to take something classic from the 80s and 90s and do a masterpiece, or they're going to be like, hey, we need you to make a game about this anime that just came out, and the anime sucks, and the game's going to suck, you know? That's my worry. I hope that they don't pressure them to make a game that they don't want to make. It's got to be something where it's like, hey, we want you to make an anime game, and then From Software is like, well, show us the list of choices. Because they have a huge, like, think about it, Kadokawa has it. They have a huge list of, like, not just manga and anime. If you put all the manga and anime together, it'll be a huge list of hundreds, you know. And I'm sure at From Software, if they got access to that list, they can be like, this anime or this manga, we can do those. You know what I mean? But I am excited for it.
We'll see. And remember, this was just kind of thrown out there. It doesn't mean that's actually rumor, happening. Yeah. It's just like, hey, this is one of our resources that we can use. And I bet you, I'm telling you, they probably said that, and I bet you people from Software are like, what? Like, they had no idea.
They definitely are. Oh, they definitely.
They were like, what puzzled. Are you talking about? But, you know, whoever said that is like, oh, like one of those people that are high up in the company, and was like, we can just use, you know, like From Software's like, what you talking about? So
yeah, like I said, From Software, they'd probably sell their leg to do a Berserk game. But other animes and manga, I'm sure that they're like a bit, you know, iffy about. But if the choice was Berserk, if they had that choice, they would jump on that. I know that they would. They would literally jump on making that game, and it would work so well because Berserk is a very dark fantasy game. Like it's very dark fantasy. It's like. And it's very heavy tones involving like rape and murder, and like it's like brutal, you know. It wasn't not an anime for kids. So yeah, like I would love to see that. I just like the idea of From Software like using other IPs or like making other like IPs. Like I said, my dream would be From Software made a Final Fantasy game. If Square Enix made the story, because sometimes like the Final Fantasy games kind of suck, but the stories are great. The stories are always great. Like they nail the story every time. You know?
So moving on, this one's interesting. WWE
this is weird, man.
It is, but at the same time, when I read it, it kind of makes sense. So WWE has signed on to make an RPG, like a wrestling role-playing game. So, you know, obviously there's the WWE games, right? The ones that you play where it's actual like
those
wrestling.
Are super fun with friends,
Yeah, definitely. And then, but this is supposed to be kind of an RPG thing. Apparently, you know, they've done, you know, Stephanie McMahon, which is Vince McMahon's daughter, is their chief brand manager. And she's saying that 80% of their audience are video gamers. So 80% of people who watch wrestling, or at least WWE, are video game fans. Yeah. So why not make something that appeals to your already existing fan base and make some money off of that? So
I will say, actually, having played a lot of WWE games as a kid, looking back, like one of my favorite WWE games was kind of the RPG mechanic. Like there wasn't RPG mechanics to it, but there was this thing where it's like a lot like UFC, where it's like you make your own fighter. You know what I mean? WWE always has this thing where you can create your own wrestler. But then like a lot of I don't know if the newer games do this, but the older WWE games did a thing where it's like you have your guy on your way to becoming like getting the belt, you know what I mean? And there's things where it's like in between matches you can walk around like the arena and go talk to other people, and so they had done like I wouldn't say they've made an RPG, but they had like those kinds of mechanics in their older games where it's like, hey, you can make a wrestler, your wrestler can walk around the area, you can go talk to Vince McMahon, you know what I mean? You can go, you can have fights in the back room or whatever. So there is that. So it would be cool, like. I guess it actually would be like when I first read this, I thought that's so weird, but at the same time, I think I would actually play it. I think I'd enjoy it because the thing I enjoyed the most about UFC is is creating your own fighter and then making him like the world heavyweight champion. Like I love doing that in UFC, you know. So if they can do that with like, I'm not the biggest fan of wrestling, but I do like the idea of like adding RPG mechanics to it. You know what I mean? And it could work. It's like back when people thought, hey, let's take farming sims and add RPG mechanics to it. And now it's like normal. Like most farming sims have RPG mechanics. Like they go hand in hand, you know? Like Harvest Moon was the original back on the Game Boy. Now it's like Stardew Valley is huge, you know?
So I'm interested. So, One, when I watched...
I think it could work, yeah.
I watched WW. It was called WWF when I was younger.
WWF, man.
During the Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior days, and Macho Man Randy Savage. So I watched it
Yeah.
then, and then
Oh, Macho Man Randy
I kind of fell
Savage.
off, and then I got back into it in college when it was
Rey
The Rock,
Mysterio.
no, The Rock
Yeah.
and Steve Austin,
John Cena. Bum, ba-dum,
Mankind,
bum.
Undertaker, that era.
The Undertaker. Yo, when he
Yeah.
came back from the dead, man, that was
So,
crazy.
but after that, I haven't watched it since. But when I did watch it, it wasn't, even though wrestling's cool, it was always about the story, right? It was the story, right,
Hmm.
of like the characters that they were playing and the
Yeah,
storylines
like
that
The
they were involved.
Undertaker, man. That was a
Yeah,
great story. The Undertaker had like a great arc, if you think about it,
yeah.
you know?
So if they can make an RPG that kind of captures that type of stuff with it, I think that would be
Yeah.
really cool. I mean, obviously,
Like
you want some sort of combat
I would like,
mechanics
yeah. I would
with
like
it.
multiple paths, you know what I mean? Multiple endings, kind of
Mhm.
like that kind of game, kind of like Outer Worlds, where it's like, hey, you could have a good ending, you could be the good guy or the bad guy, and your ending will change depending on how you play
Mhm.
and stuff like that. The alliances you make and stuff. I think it could be quite cool. I like the idea of it.
Yeah, so I'm interested. I'll keep an eye on that. This one's my last thing. I'm sure you have some stuff, but this
I got
is
a couple small things.
the Dead Space remake has an official release date now, which is January 27th, 2023. They also released some concept art for it, which is kind of interesting to think of. Like, it's a remake, so it's like they're doing concept art for a game that already exists, but because
Hmm.
they're remaking it, they have new looks and feels to it. So it's always interesting. But yeah, we got a date, and we've already seen some footage. It looks good, and yeah. I remember I played the original. I don't think I finished it, but I did have fun with it.
Mm.
I'm just hoping with this remake that it's set in this one place, so it's a little hard, but they can hopefully do it based on some of this concept art, is to kind of freshen up the looks so that it doesn't look too samey.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Just because before they even announced this, I watched like an hour and a half, 2 hour long podcast with the original creator of Dead Space,
Mm-hmm.
saying how badly he wants to make a remake, and he was talking about the things he would do if he made a remake, and that's how I know that this game's gonna scare the shit out of me. It's like the way like listening to this guy for an hour talk about like, so we did, like literally like reinventing the jump scare, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like he did like they did some really out there things in the way that they tackled the game and try to make it as scary and as suspenseful as possible. Like just the way the guy described how he made the first game and how he thought about it, the guy's mind scares me. So
Mm-hmm.
the fact that he's working on the like, well, it's not a reboot, it's a remake. He's gonna take all the things that he did good, and he's just gonna perfect them. So everything that was scary is still gonna happen, but it's gonna be scarier. You know, like the sound design is probably gonna be way better. You know, here's the thing: I played Dead Space 1, 2, and 3. I think I played Dead Space 2 the most because it had co-op, and like it's obviously less scary with a friend. You know, it's still scary, but it's less scary when you're with a friend. And those games used to scare the crap out of me because of the jump scares. Now you play them, and they're like, even with the jump scares, they're not as scary because they're dated. You know what I mean? The
Mm-hmm.
graphics aren't good. The sound engineering is not that good. You're used to much better quality of things. So I'm really happy to see the concept art because I'm like, yes, like none of like everything here looks creepy, and it's like not that scary to look at. But when you're in a dark spaceship in the middle of nowhere and it's quiet and one of these things jump out in front of you, you were gonna scream. You will scream. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. And I'm also glad that, like I said, like a long time ago, I watched this huge podcast about this guy saying he would so much like he really wants to make another Dead Space game or make a remake, and here we are, and he's doing it. So good for him. I'm happy for him. You know.
Yeah. All right. What do you got? That's it for my list of stuff.
I think I mentioned this last time, but I'll mention it again. G4, yeah, I did mention it last time, but yeah, GeForce Now subscribers can stream cloud games in 4K on Windows and Mac if your
Mm-hmm.
internet can handle it. Because you'll be essentially on their servers are running an RTX 3080, essentially. So you're like getting RTX 3080 quality gameplay
Mm-hmm.
as long as once again as long as your internet can handle it. So that's cool. Um, I don't know if once again don't know if we spoke about this or not, but Ian McGregor hinted at an Obi-Wan Kenobi and Jedi Fallen Order connection. So we might see some connections there, which I think is interesting because because Fallen Order is canon. Like we know that's canon. You know what I mean? Like they said so when the game came out. They're like, hey, this is canon. Everything that's happening in the story right now is canon. It's in the story. So maybe we'll see some repercussions of what happened in Fallen Order in the Ian McGregor Obi-Wan Kenobi show, which I think will be quite interesting. Let me get the exact quote here to make sure. Yeah, I really knows their stuff. All of the storylines have to match up. Can't have some fact in a video game that doesn't match up to the movie. That was the quote. You know what I mean? Which means that on set there probably was an issue where like, hey, this happened in the video game, so we have to make sure that it. So most likely that's gonna happen. Thought that was maybe interesting to bring up. Phil Spencer responds to the Starfield and Redfall delay, because obviously like Phil Spencer wasn't the person who decided the game gets delayed. They were just the parent company.
Well, they'd have to sign. They have to sign off on it, though. I mean, he does
exactly.
have to be
so
like,
he put out in a tweet. These decisions are hard on teams making the games and our fans. While I fully support giving teams time to release these great games when they are ready, we hear the feedback. Delivering quality and consistency is expected. We will continue to work to better meet those expectations. So, all in all, he didn't say anything. It was the most corporate jargon lingo of him being like, hey, I understand you guys are bummed about the delay, but it's happening anyways. Deal with it, you know? It was the most per my email, you know what I mean? It's the most office talk thing I've ever seen. Dead Space, again, we spoke about this. Yeah, we got the release date. Did we mention the release date?
Yep. January 27th.
January 27th, 2023. Looking forward to that. And there's a bunch of the concept art does look good though. This is more like a rumor / not rumor, but there might be a Mass Effect 5 in the works. Because apparently the BioWare store had like a listing for it, but then there was a reference to it, and then they deleted the reference.
Well, they're working on that new Mass Effect game, but they don't know. Yeah. We don't know what it's called and who.
There was a plot synopsis.
Yeah, like we didn't know.
Mass Effect 5 poster.
I guess there was one that had Shepard's name in it, and then there
it
hasn't been confirmed that
coming back.
Yeah,
they don't know. I think look, the fact that they deleted the reference and they didn't say anything, they weren't like, hey, we deleted this because we didn't want you guys to be confused. The fact that they deleted it and didn't say anything makes me think it's true. Like, Shepard's going to return. You know what I mean? Which makes sense. Also, like, if you had people who just bought the remaster and play that, they just fell in love with the game for the first time, they're going to want Shepard to return, you know? Makes sense. And some people got confused because I think we mentioned this. I know that we did say Gotham Knights is co-op. Some people were speculating it was 4-player co-op because on the PlayStation Store there was a listing. There was a listing that says up to 4 players, but they fixed that. It's not going to happen. It's not 4-player co-op.
Yeah,
it's only 2-player co-op. Yeah,
doesn't sound right.
But yeah, it was just like a false listing on it was like one of the tags attached to like on the PS Store. And then let's see. We covered Gotham Knight. I watched this and I'm actually excited for it. I don't know did you watch American Vandal? It was
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was like a parody of Making a Murderer, but instead it's like trying to figure out who was this guy in the high school that spray painted a dick on all the cars, but it was like a very serious. I was hooked to the show because of the way they film it. They were making fun of how to make a murderer, but at the same time they showed you like how addictive that format is. It's like, hey, we can make a show about finding a guy who spray paints dicks on cars. We can make that interesting and investing just using the same format, and it works. Anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. Their next thing, and I was wondering if they were going to make a third American Vandal season, but they didn't. They were working on their own thing. They said it was going to be an esports mockumentary, and the trailer just came out, and I'm looking forward to it. I just thought I should mention that. So if you it is video game related because it's an esports mockumentary. But yeah, they have their own esports team, and it looks funny, man. I'm looking forward to this. It actually genuinely looks funny. To win it all, they will need their prodigy, a 17-year-old rookie, and their 27-year-old veteran to put their egos aside and work together. That's like the little tagline. I think it's hilarious because it's so true. Like when you think of esport like teams. It usually is like a couple 14-year-olds, a couple like guys in their 30s, and then it's just like they got to work together, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of comedic. And someone's mom's probably involved, you know, got to make sure their little esport player's doing all right. I'm looking forward to that. It looked really funny. This is a red flag for me. EA is making a Lord of the Rings mobile game. I think that's a red flag because I don't know how they would do it. Look, I know Blizzard just announced, and it does. I'm not gonna lie, the game Blizzard announced on mobile for Warcraft actually does look like fun, but it also looks like it has nothing to do with Warcraft. Like they're just using the IP and the characters.
That
The gameplay
happens
is
a
more
lot.
like Clash Royale, from what I could see, rather than it being like an RTS. It's just it's like Clash Royale with not the exact same game, but very similar. You know what I mean? So I have no idea what this Lord of the Rings mobile game is going to be. I'm assuming right off the bat it's going to be something similar to Raid Shadow Legends. You know,
I'm just
it's
not
a
a
free-to-play
mobile gamer, and
free to play collectible RPG. It's 100% going to be like a Raid Shadow Legends kind of thing.
I'm just
It's
not
just
a mobile game player, and
I mean, look, I play mobile games, but it's like most of them are just copies of each other. And sometimes the secondhand, like, knockoff copy of the game is usually better, you know? But, like, in my opinion, mobile games, some people might disagree with me on this, but in my opinion, the best mobile games are the ones you play for, like, 10 minutes max, you know? You're there, like, to play it while you're pooping or something. Then maybe you'll keep playing when you're done pooping for a bit, but then you'll put your phone down and carry on with life, you know? And I think those are the best. Like, I think, what was it, 2019's Game of the Year on the Google Play Store was Arch Hero. And I love that game because it's a roguelite. It's a roguelike on your phone. And the way the game works is that you're controlling the character with your thumb, and every time you stop moving, that's when they shoot. And it auto-aims, so you don't have to aim on anything. You just have to evade, let go, shoot, evade, let go, shoot. And it worked really, surprisingly, it was an addictive game, but because it was the first proper roguelike game on a mobile game. But even then, like, the gameplay works in a way where it's like you're playing for 5 to 10 minutes maybe, you know? So, yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's a red flag. I haven't heard any backlash from it yet, but I'm pretty sure there will be. I think they're just trying to cash in on the hype from the TV show coming out. Final Fantasy did that with Final Fantasy 15 when the game came out. They tried to capitalize on the hype because there was a movie attached to it as well. And so the movie came out, the game came out, and they were like, hey, we also have a mobile game, which was ass. It was a horrible mobile game. So most likely they're just trying to capitalize on the TV show coming out and then trying to make some of those microtransactions money. So I think it's going to be a very rushed, shitty game. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I found very interesting. Because I did mention that I haven't, and actually I think I watched a Game Ranks video about it, how like we haven't heard anything about this, which is not since the trailer, like Final Fantasy 16. There was a trailer, there was like a gameplay trailer and what they were working on, but we haven't heard anything since then. But supposedly there is a finished trailer, but it's delayed due to various circumstances. But there is a finished trailer out there of Final Fantasy 16. So hopefully we're going to see it soon, because I do think it's been a while. Here they say, we have a finished trailer, but due to various circumstances, its release has been a bit delayed. I reckon it'll be coming out very soon, though. So we are going to see it soon. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we get some more details from it. I do think it was just been a case of like they are obviously more concerned with their moneymaker, which is Final Fantasy 14, you know, and that expansion that came out recently. Well, not too recent, but they still got to make sure that things run smoothly, you know. It's just weird that we haven't seen or heard anything about Final Fantasy 16 in so long. So I'm happy that the trailer's coming out, but I'm just wondering, I'm just wondering what these various if the trailer is done, what is the various what circumstance could possibly be there to like stop you from putting out the trailer that's ready and finished? Like they're like, yeah, we have a trailer, it's done, it's ready, good to go. So what's this? I don't get it. I don't know what the circumstance. Well, then again, this article did come out before the acquisition news that we heard, so maybe that's that's the circumstance. Maybe they're more worried about
maybe
their Sony
that trailer is
right
going to
now.
be shown off at the Sony State of Play when they announced they buy Square Enix.
You got a good point, because it's like I can't think of any reason as to why the hell they wouldn't. If the trailer is ready, Dennis, why are they not putting it out?
It's
going to be one good to go.
It's going to be the last trailer they play at the end of the State of Play, and then they'll be like, by the way, we bought Square Enix. Welcome Square Enix to the family. you know.
It's got to, like, I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense to me, because I know that they're busy with other stuff, but once again, like, being busy with other stuff doesn't stop you from putting out, if you have a completed trailer. Like I said, that's the only thing that makes sense to me now. I guess it dawned on me now that it's got to be that. It's got to be the acquisition that they're working on. And then this was interesting because I don't really know how this works. This is my last article though, but Nvidia got fined $5.5 million for inadequate disclosures of sales to crypto miners. Oh, I think this is for the graphics cards.
Yeah,
Because
in
they've been
their
selling, yeah.
revenue reports, basically saying, "Hey, look, these
Mm,
actually aren't showing growth in some sort of gaming
yeah,
sector,
it's just,
but more
yeah.
in the crypto sector, which is, you know,
Inadequate disclosures. They weren't saying how many were sold to crypto miners specifically. Nvidia's disclosure failures deprived investors of critical information to evaluate the company's business in a key market, which makes sense. Like they weren't upfront with their investors and
yeah. If
stock
you don't
owners,
feel like crypto is
stockholders.
going
Sorry.
to,
Yeah.
keep going or whatever, maybe you don't want to invest, more into. If you don't think that can sustain itself for sales and graphics cards, maybe you won't invest or pull your money out. So
Yeah, but it is one of those things where I suppose if you're a stockholder in Nvidia, like, yes, look, the graphics cards are being sold, but I can see how it could affect the stock. Where eventually, if it gets to a point where the only way to get a graphics card is by being a crypto miner, then yeah, that, like, Nvidia is going to take a hit from the public. Their public image will go down. Um, which I don't know. I just hate crypto miners, man. It's just so bad for the environment. But hey, it is what it is. Also, like, completely understand some people, their grind, that you got to grind, man. You got to make your money somehow. So I completely understand that. But blockchain is not the way to go. Blockchain is so bad. It just chows electricity. It just eats up electricity, man. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting to bring up for the last article, that they are getting sued for $5.5 million. Oh, they were fined, which means it's like they have to pay it, as far as I know. If you get fined, that means that you already did the no. You've already been busted,
yeah. Usually fines, unfortunately, are equal to what actually happened. You know what I mean? Like, it's always like this company scammed X amount and made, like, an extra $3 billion, and then whatever, and then they pay like a $30 million fine. It's like, that's not really equivalent to what happened. It's usually something like that. And the corporations goes, oh, okay, we'll pay the the much lesser fine.
Man,
So.
you know what's sad to think is that in a couple years from now, we're probably gonna have to be buying our graphics cards from crypto miners. Some crypto miner is gonna be like, yeah, I'm busy upgrading my rig to a bunch of
I'm telling you,
4090s. Do you want my old 3080? But
dude,
no, actually, you know what? They're not, because even old graphics cards they have uses for. They're not gonna not have use for a graphics card until it burns out. Crap.
I don't
That sucks.
think in the future we're not gonna even need graphics cards, man. Everything's
That's
gonna be on
true.
the
We're gonna be
cloud.
streaming it, yeah.
Everything's gonna be on
But
the
it's,
cloud.
yeah.
It's gonna be cloud. Like,
Yeah.
the graphics cards will be in a cloud farm somewhere,
We
pumping out
just need more
streams.
servers as well. That's the issue, is servers in the future. Because here's, like, my internet the internet I have right now is vastly superior to the internet I had living in LA. But because all the servers are so far away, I can't even watch anime. Like, it's weird. Like, Crunchyroll doesn't have. I think Crunchyroll only has servers in America. So streaming anime from Crunchyroll lags. Like it buffers. Like, it's insane. But then it's like, if I go to some illegal pirating site to watch anime, I can watch it in like 4K quality, and it streams like that just because they've got servers that are closer, you know? So I think, like, in the future, cloud gaming is the way and cloud streaming is the way. But in the future, we're gonna have, I think, server issues and server wars.
Yeah. If you want to eliminate or reduce piracy, you've got to make things accessible to
Exactly.
everyone, everywhere.
I mean, I was gonna say, I think the biggest issue with third world countries and piracy is that, for instance, like, I just found out Disney Plus is now available here, but for a long time it wasn't, and the only way you were gonna watch Disney Plus shows is by pirating it. That was the only way, But yeah, now I can finally get myself a Disney Plus membership. I don't know when Star Wars is coming out, but I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all the news I got.
Cool. So yeah, gotta finish up Elden Ring. Basically at the last boss.
I've been avoiding it. I don't know if you've been avoiding it for the same reason, but it's like I'm on the last two bosses because they're right next to each other.
Yes.
I don't think I want the game to end because I can't think of a reason as to what's stopped. Like it's gonna be like another maybe hour or 2 hours, like, and then I'm done with the game. And then, like, there's New Game Plus mode, but there's like something about me that's like I've held onto this adventure for so long, and it's like maybe I'm just not ready to let it go. Maybe I'm not ready to finish this game.
That's part of it.
Know?
But the other part
so
for me
weird.
is I have a weird, like, I'm not one of those, I need 100% achievement. I'm a completionist when it comes to things that are important for me. So for me, I want to, finish certain things. And
a lot of side quests and areas.
Yeah, and so there were side bosses that I hadn't finished yet. And there was like 2 or 3 that I was really having trouble with, even at this higher level. And so I wanted to finish them before I tackled the end boss, and I finally did. And so I'm ready to finish because before I had only played against the final boss like once.
The Elden Beast.
Yeah. Now I played a few more times last night, but I need to, actually sit down and actually finish the game. But I was fighting all these random side bosses that were for some reason particularly hard. I guess because a lot of the side bosses you can't use summons. You can't use torrent.
Like the knights, for instance, you can't. Yeah, exactly. You're kind of. It's very old school Dark Souls combat. A lot of the side bosses.
Yeah, I'm scared when I'm gonna play Bloodborne.
Yeah. And here's the thing: I am looking forward to New Game Plus mode because, like, and I've put in more hours than you in this game, but I haven't. I'd say accomplished as much as you have in this game because I've, like, the first 20 or 30 hours of that game I've played over and over again. I've like it's funny because now I know, and this is the thing with any Dark Souls game. It doesn't matter what class you pick in the beginning. Eventually, late game, it doesn't matter which class you are because you can respec. You can be whatever you want to be. It doesn't matter who you pick in the beginning, But like getting into this game because of that initial difficulty, like hike that you're not used to. It does matter who you pick. So I tried every single starting class. And I put at least 20 hours in on every single starting class.
You know what I realized? The best starting class is, whatchamacallit? Why am I blanking on the name? No. It's that...
the Wretch.
Wretch. Because when you go respec, you cannot go below your original starting point. So right now I have wasted points in Faith in Arcane that I don't use.
But you're not... Exactly, yeah.
At all.
Yeah,
so
no, the wretch is like super late game perfect. Like if you look at all
the
it
sucks in the beginning, but it
it's
benefits you a lot. So that's probably what I should have started off as.
I actually did have a wretch that I turned into a mage because I was like, I want to see if I can, and I could. But then I ended up, I don't know what it was, but there's something about the prisoner that I love playing. I hate the way he looks. And it's funny because when you play the prisoner for like the first couple hours, you don't find a better helmet, so you're stuck with that ugly ass thing on your head because it's actually a really good
helmet because I found it later in the game and I was like, that's a better helmet than what I have, and that was like
and
way
you
into
start
the game.
That you get to start with that helmet if you choose prisoner, and you get the glint blade, phalanx or whatever it's called, which I think is fantastic even for PvP. So I'm looking forward to playing New Game Plus and trying out. Like I said, there's a lot of Faith Arcane stuff I never tried out.
Me too.
What I mean? So I'm looking forward to that. But like, I don't know. I guess I have a difficulty letting go of certain things, and it's like I know once I finish this game, once I beat the Elden Beast and I become the Elden Lord, I'm gonna be satisfied. But I'm like, I don't know. I feel like when I play New Game Plus mode, there's like a part like I'm gonna be walking around New Game Plus being like, I'm the Elden Lord, bitch. I'm not afraid of anything, Even though I know things are gonna be more difficult. Like I think I saw someone play New Game Plus 7 the other day, and they just did that tutorial boss, and the tutorial boss had so much health. It was insane.
Yeah, I'm never gonna get to that New Game Plus 7. I'm gonna New Game Plus once, and that's it. If I ever play Elden Ring again after New Game Plus, I probably would just start from scratch. Yeah. So
Same. I mean, I'm looking forward to any possible future DLCs. Usually with these games, like Dark Souls types games, I don't want DLC because I'm like, the game's the game, it's great. I'd rather they work on the next game. Because of the world of Elden Ring, I
it's
want
different
DLC.
because
I
it's an
want
open
DLC
world,
bad.
so
Mm,
DLC makes more sense as opposed
yeah,
to the other games that they have. So yeah, I played some Trek to Yomi. I talked about that last week.
nice.
Um,
I haven't installed. I still haven't tried it out yet, unfortunately.
it looks beautiful. It sounds beautiful. The gameplay is a bit repetitive, so and you kind of, because it's not an open world, you can't go somewhere else. You just kind of have to. If you get stuck at a certain point, you just kind of
Yeah.
have to redo it. And also, the gameplay itself is not that responsive in terms
Mm.
of like. Yeah, like once you make not a mistake,
Well,
but like
it
it's just,
is an indie game at the end of the day as well. You know.
it looks great though. It looks beautiful.
Yeah. I think I said it last week as well. I jumped back into Sifu. I really
Mhm.
enjoyed that. Like, made that game my bitch essentially after Elden Ring. Like, I don't know, Elden Ring like put such an aggressive stance in me where I'm like, I feel like I need to play games and I need to dominate these games. Like, I need to make these games, like I need to kick their ass, you know. So I went back to Sifu and I crushed it. I killed it. And that's when I think I mentioned it. I saw when I went back to play Sifu, I saw they added a difficulty scaling. So there
Yeah,
is
yeah,
an
yeah.
easy, normal, and then hard mode. And I haven't tried the hard mode yet, but supposedly that is actually difficult. Like, some of the guys you can knock out in like one or two punches now take way more, you know, like they have more health bar, for instance.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sifu's still a great game. If you haven't tried it out, I do recommend it.
I think
It's quite fun.
I think I might jump to Guardians of the Galaxy next.
Mm. Well, the thing like I will say about Guardians of the Galaxy, it's very casual. Like I said, I think that the
I might
gameplay
need that. I
is
might need that
incredibly
after
average.
Elden Ring.
But yeah, casual is nice. You know, like that's why I think Family Guy is great. Sometimes you don't want to think. You just want to sit down and watch something and you don't want to think. And for me, Guardians of the Galaxy was that game where I was like, I want to play a game, but I don't want to think, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, I liked it.
Cool. All right. I think that's it for us in this episode. Thanks everyone who's watching or listening. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Revog. You can follow me on Twitter at ThinkHero or Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Also subscribe to our, or not YouTube channel, but our podcast. And you can find that on Spotify or anchor.fm. Josh, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on It's Thespis at Twitch. I haven't streamed in a while, but if I get some more followers, I definitely will. So you guys can follow me on Twitch. I'm also in the Revog Discord channel if you guys ever want to talk. And let me know in the comments section how you guys feel about me possibly doing some streams in the Discord channel. If you guys are ever on Discord and you guys want to watch me play some games, I'm more than happy to stream in the channel itself.
Yeah. Sounds good. And let us know what games you guys are playing right now, and also what do you think about this whole Starfield delay? How big of an impact is this for Xbox and Game Pass? I feel like it's not good and it hurts them short term, but I think long term they'll be okay. I think.
Yeah. Well, like it's not like Game Pass is suffering. Like they're killing it. You know, I don't think they're too worried. I don't think Phil Spencer is too worried either. You know.
You might have some temporary stoppages in subscriptions, and then they probably will resubscribe next year.
Exactly.
That's what might happen. So we'll see. All right. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Later.